All right, welcome back, everyone, to Lakers Latest. I hope you guys had a good Monday, as good as a Monday can be, because it's always the worst day of the week. Well, I think Wednesday's actually the worst day of the week, but I've gone into that tirade before, so I don't need to do it again. But yeah, hopefully everyone had a good day of the week. It is Tuesday. We are already at the end of September, which is crazy. Like, it's insane. We're already week 4 in the football season. The MLB playoffs start today. And NBA's right around. It's just crazy, like how quick everything is going. Um, but yeah, hope everyone had a good Monday. I'm coming to you from Studio City as always, where it's about 77 and sunny right now. Weather is beautiful. It's not muggy. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. 75 to 80 is right around where my personal favorite type of weather, where I think it should be all year long, I wish. But yeah, we are obviously, training camp has begun. Media day was yesterday. First preseason game for the NBA is the Knicks 76ers Abu Dhabi game on October 2nd, and then the Lakers Suns is the Lakers' first preseason game on October 3rd, which obviously we are all super excited for. But yeah, let's get into it. But before I do, just real quick, Dodgers game is about 4 hours, so we're gonna get this done, and then let's go Dodgers. But then yeah, so let's hop on the first thing today, which is Austin Reaves. So obviously media day was yesterday, so I kind of touched upon a bunch of different aspects of media day, some players and kind of what they said, but that was kind of really at the beginning of media day, and after that we got more context on everything everyone says. So they talked to Austin Reaves, and obviously, I've said it before, Luka and LeBron will lead this team to where they need to go, but Reaves is kind of that glue, assuming they keep him and don't trade him. But he's such an important player to this team. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, I personally would start him. But I would understand if they want to get Marcus Smart's defense in the starting lineup over him. I would get that, but I don't know. I would probably start him. But they kind of just talked to Reaves about, like, what was your offseason like? How's training? How do you feel with everything? And he was like, yeah, obviously I'm really excited. I can't wait for this season. He talked about how it was a big off season for him, kind of working on some stuff, getting ready. And then another thing that he talked about, which again I've talked about, obviously it didn't happen, but there's still a possibility of it happening at some point, which is him getting traded. Now, obviously, he had a chance to sign an extension, which he turned down, which not holding that against him at all. It's completely understandable because he'll make way more than that in the open market. It was about for $89 million, I can't 3 or 4 years. Regardless, he's going to make more in the open market. So, he kind of just talked about how after that he thought for like a tiny bit, almost like a week to 2 week period, there was a pretty decent chance that he was going to get traded. I guess it's not a matter of like rumors or what he was hearing, but maybe he was just logistically looking at it from said no, and maybe they'll trade me. Obviously, they didn't. I'm happy they didn't because I think, there's a ton we can still get out of Reaves. I think he's still got one more level to get to as a player. But, like, I guess I can understand where he's coming from, where he thought, he was going to get traded. I can understand why, obviously, he rejected it. I can also see why he thought he would get traded. Now, whether Reaves gets traded as a whole, whether that still makes sense for the future, that's still a discussion that needs to be had. I don't know whether the answer is yes or no. I like Reaves, but it's a legitimate question that is this the guy you really want to commit, $30+ million to be Reaves' second fiddle, or would you rather maybe trade assets for him, maybe start from scratch, not the team, but I mean like with the assets, maybe use that in a bigger trade for a better player. I don't know. There's options, but at the end of the day, Reaves seems kind of fully ready to go. He's obviously it was a strange situation for him for a couple weeks after that, but I think at this point the Lakers won't be trading him in the regular season unless there is a huge mega trade going on, which I think we've had our fair share of those after last year, and also our fair share of non-trades. So yeah, Reaves is going to be one to keep an eye on, but I personally don't think anything with him will happen until the offseason. But you never know. So that's going to be something we'll keep an eye on, but probably not until the offseason. So we'll see what happens. But it is kind of always interesting at media day or in these interviews where you can kind of get a little bit more context on what these players are thinking, where these thoughts are coming from, and everything. So again, I'm a big Austin Reaves fan. I think he's going to be a very integral part of this team. And I'm just really excited to see what he does this year, and I'd love to see him be a part of the Lakers moving forward, but that's a decision that'll have to be made after this year. All right, we're gonna go on to LeBron James as we kind of always do. Yesterday, we talked about LeBron talking about his future. All off season that there's been speculation on his future from different reporters, from Brian Windhorst and all these other guys, and then Rich Paul chimes in and said, "Don't worry about LeBron's future." We really hadn't had a chance to hear from LeBron, like personally, until yesterday. And he just, like, I guess obviously he said yesterday, I think he's ready to go. Like, I think one thing about his future is now that the season has started, it's something that we don't want to delve on. We don't want to think about it. We'll figure that out after the offseason next year, after this year is over. But for now, it's just focused. Let's go, ready to go. Let's get LeBron ready. Let's get the whole team ready, and let's go compete for a championship. So, touching more on LeBron, there's a little bit more. We heard that I believe it's a glute injury. It's not something too big, but I think JJ Redick talked about how he feels they probably overworked LeBron a little bit last year. This is LeBron James. No one's ever done what he's done at his age. He might be a cyborg. I don't know. But at the same time, you still need to protect him as much as you possibly can, because you are going to need the best version of him even at 41 years old, which is still a top 15 player in this league in the playoffs. So, if that's him, maybe sitting on the extra night of back-to-backs, obviously, he's going to be a little bit slow to get ready, but I think he will play in preseason, and I think we will get him playing in practice and kind of getting comfortable with the guys. But yeah, I have no problem limiting him practice. At the end of the day, his health is the most important thing. He's 41 years old. Like, as far as I'm concerned, if they need to do things and sit him on the second night to back-to-backs, or maybe give him an extra week off before All-Star break if the schedule's weak. I can't remember specifically. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you need to protect him at all costs. Obviously, Luka, he has gotten hurt, but he's still a young guy, apparently in the best shape of his life. Feel pretty comfortable and confident in him. LeBron, even though he is this crazy, wild, unique specimen cyborg, you need to make sure that he's healthy come playoff time, because if he's not, you have essentially no shot of going anywhere without LeBron. As great as Luka is, you need LeBron to be that, well, second fiddle or potentially still top fiddle in certain games. But the point is, you need to make sure he's 100% healthy. So for him to be living him in practice now, I personally don't have an issue with that. As far as I'm concerned, protect him, be extra careful with him and extra cautious with him, because we're going to need him come playoff time if they really want to compete for a championship, which is obviously the goal. So we'll see on that. Obviously, excited to see LeBron and Luka together, and the rest of the team, which will transition to me in my next thing. Luka, LeBron, and Reeves, obviously kind of had a little bit more hearing about them and hearing about their chemistry, and kind of, how excited they are to really play together this year, and how it was kind of a little jumbled last year. Reeves talked about how the eagerness was very high. They're very eager to play with each other. He said that he thought that they had a pretty good kind of synergy and chemistry last year, and near the end of the season, it just kind of just happened so quickly. Luka got hurt, and they had to figure stuff like that out. But yeah, they all just talk about like how excited they are together. LeBron, specifically wanted to point out, like, can't wait to just like play a full season with Luka. He also talked about Reeves. He said AR is my guy. Also Reeves is my guy. Love him. Great player. But yeah, he talked about just kind of how excited he is just to play with a full season of Luka, and then he kind of harped about kind of what we've really all seen the past, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in Eurobasket. How unbelievable Luka looked. Just looked in incredible shape. Obviously, the numbers speak for themselves, like 34 and a half, 11 and a half rebounds, 7.5, 8 assists. So he looked unbelievable. So yeah, it's obviously, again, to finally hear these guys speak, hear all of them talk about how excited they are. They talked about they think practice is going to be a big part. Just keep practicing, keep building that chemistry and communicating. Kind of each of them harped upon communication being just a massive thing. Obviously, you want to be as communicative as possible on offense and defense, but especially with three guys who are just so immensely talented offensively, offensive communication is going to be, I think, extra important. So yeah, just excited to definitely see like that trio and kind of how they play together. The way they talk, I find it hard to believe that Reeves is not going to start. But at the same time, you never know. We'll see. I'll leave that up to JJ Redick, and we'll obviously get a better idea of that after training camp, throughout a couple preseason games before the regular season begins. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. So love hearing that, and just really excited to see these guys together. All right, so I'm going to end it on the West. Now, I kind of have gone to take a look at the West a few times this offseason, but now that we're, barring any huge trade, which I don't think is going to happen at this point, really set with all the rosters. Al Horford just signed with the Warriors and a couple other guys, so their roster's finally set. But the West it's crazy. Like, again, I still think there's a clear top three with the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Nuggets. Now, the Rockets definitely took a bit of a blow with Fred VanVleet, and I don't think they can really afford any more guard injuries because they have very lacking depth on guard. So that definitely is a hit to them. But still, having Kevin Durant and the other guys they do, that they're still, to me, just a little bit level above. And then I think the Lakers are in that 4-7 range. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I'm looking at these teams. I would say Lakers, in no particular order, in the 4-7 range. Lakers, Timberwolves, Clippers, Grizzlies, Warriors. Warriors are also going to get a full season of Steph and Jimmy and all them who were playing unbelievable before Steph got hurt. So the West is just crazy. I mean that's those top 8 teams. Like, some of them would come in probably second in the, like, if I look at this, OKC probably comes in first in the East. Denver maybe first, potentially, depending on New York or Cleveland. Houston maybe first, depending on But then, like, the Lakers and Memphis, Clippers, Timberwolves, Grizzlies, or sorry, that is Memphis, Warriors, like, all of them would come in at least third in the East or second. It's crazy how stacked the West is. It kind of makes you feel like it used to be when there was just it was just so stacked and it was dominating. We had the AC was 50 and 32 and stuff like that. So yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, just super excited. Obviously, the West is stacked, but still can't wait for this year. Excited to see everyone on the court, and yeah, just can't wait. So until then, I'll catch you guys later, and go Dodgers.